Yesterday, two of my all-time favorite bands has released a new record. And while one of them is the best record since 2011, the other one is the worst record since 2009. And I already made a video about Dream Theater being the best record since 2011. Now it's time to talk a little bit about the new Obscura and why it's the worst record since 𝙗𝙗𝙦𝗫𝙙. Here we go. Hey Guitar Champion, what's going on? I'm 𝙬𝙗𝙦, back from my practice dojo, and welcome to today's video. Alright, the new Obscura is out and it is a super disappointed record, but I assumed that. I gave it a try, not only once but 3 to 4 times. And I even tried to listen to that record, shutting down all the accusations about stealing riffs and all the stuff that Stephen Kummerer did to his ex-bandmate. You know, in my head, shutting it down, trying to listen to it as neutral as possible, and now trying to review it. But let me tell you, this is not going to be a positive review, though I want to end on a positive note. So in the end, I want to talk about the things that I liked about this record. But now let's check out the stuff that does not really work on A Sonication by Obscura. And I want to start with the thing that it is the hardest for me to judge, because there I don't have any expertise in that kind of level and on that kind of field, and it's the mix. I mean, I'm really not an expert when it comes to mixing or mastering a record, but I think this is one of the worst sounding Obscura records that are out there. It is extremely blurry and fizzly on one side and then really bass kind of muffly on the other side. It's really hard for me to pinpoint what is wrong here because, again, I'm no expert on that kind of field, but I realized something does not sound good here. And I was wondering, because Fredrik Nordstrom, the engineer and producer, is known to be one of the best producers out there. And he also did the last record, 𝙬𝙀𝙀, and that sounded really good and really fine. So what was wrong here? Maybe Stefan ran out of money and he couldn't afford all of the work from Fredrik in that short amount of time, that rushed kind of time, because from what we know is that the history of this record is extremely rushed. And I talked about this in my Downfall Obscura video that you can watch right here if you haven't yet. So now, but let's talk about the things where I have kind of an expertise in it, and this is the songwriting and the guitar playing. And the songwriting is, well, you remember this clip from my The Downfall of Obscura video right here? But imagine yourself back when you were 13 years old and you were writing your first metal riff. And then you made out of that metal riff your first metal song. Remember that song? Remember these riffs that we wrote? Now there were 3 of them in that. This is how this record sounds. It is extremely repetitive. There are so many riffs that I've heard before in other Obscura songs. In Solitude is basically Emergent Evolution from the Diluvian record. Stardust is basically 10th Sephiroth and Sermon of the Seventh Son from the 𝙗𝙗𝙗𝙗 record. Beyond the Seventh Son is really near to the instrumental songs that won from 𝙗𝙗𝙦 and from 𝙬𝙀𝙀. They form one song together. And one song is a successor of the other song. But this sounds more like, you know, getting out of ideas. While I grow more and more cats on my knees here and on my legs here, well, Stefan should think about more and more chord changes that he could include and incorporate it into his songwriting skills. Because this is the thing. I've heard from so many different ex-Obscura members that I know, like, oh wow, these are definitely not some new Obscura ideas. These are old ideas that are nearly 10 years old that Stefan always proposed to the band, but their reaction were like, better skip that, or let's change that here and there, because these are not really good ideas. And yes, these riffs and these choruses, they are not really good for Obscura standard. And this is where we may have to differentiate a little bit. It is not a terrible record. I mean, despite the mix and the sound and some of the solo stuff, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, but it is like the generic death metal, mellow death metal kind of sound and kind of style, which is fine, but it's definitely not what Obscura stands for, what the brand is standing for. Obscura, and I talked about this in my video, Obscura is Obscura always stand for innovative, new ideas, new concept, new kind of thinking in guitar playing, trying to have that progressive side together with the virtuoso technical death metal side combined, and pushing tech death to the next limit. And there Obscura were always the #1 in the whole tech death scene. And now this sounds like a school band trying to play tech death, in my opinion. The funny thing is that in a German interview from the Metal Hammer magazine, Steffen was basically lying to the audience and to the journalist who interviewed him by saying this.
Und fangen wirklich from scratch an, wie der Engländer so schön sagt. Und das finde ich eigentlich ganz cool. Also man fängt nicht an, irgendwelche alten Ideen oder ausgeartete halbe Skelette von alten Songwriting-Phasen dann nochmal aufzuwärmen, sondern bei mir geht's wirklich ab Tag X dann einfach von Null auf los. Und das finde ich recht erfrischend.
Yeah, always start from scratch. Probably not. Because I can approve, I heard some of these riffs 1 year ago, and the sad thing is I heard the potential of what these ideas and these riffs actually could have been evolved into. Because I've heard the versions as well where Christian has put his mind and his influence into those riffs. That was the whole discussion last year, that Steffen was bringing those riffs to the table, and everybody was saying, hey, okay, they are kind of cool, but it's a little bit repetitive. We did these chord changes before, we did these type of riffs before. Let's change it up here and there, so it's a little bit new. And Christian was doing a really great work. And now Steffen released his own version of it, and you got the result in a Sonication. Let's compare it a little bit with a valediction. And I know some people don't like a valediction. I personally like it, but what we have to admit is that they were going into a new direction. But speaking of their craftsmanship as a songwriter, they are really putting some interesting stuff into these songs. Like, let's take for example When Stars Collide, like it or not. But this was something new, and it was well crafted in the terms of songwriting. The riffs, the instruments, the melodies, they were evolving throughout that song. They were leading to a certain point. They have a build-up and a release. The same with Devoured Usurper, a song that I lyrically absolutely disagree and don't like, because I know this song was written about one of my friends and one of Steffen's ex-members, so don't support that. I absolutely don't support the lyrics there, but the music is really great, and I really love how they are going from that slow death metal Morbid Angel kind of type to that hardcore beatdown kind of break into really fast kind of thing with some incredible shreds in there. Really love it. It has a development, it has an evolvement, and these characters, which are really important for good songwriting, that you're telling a story in your song, that you're developing to a certain point, it's all missing now here in Sonication. They're using AI in their video, but the music itself sounded like it was written by AI, because it's super generic, it not leads anywhere, it's super repetitive, no song really sticks out, and this is something that never happened before in Obscura since 2009. Kind of reminds me of the first Obscura record. I wonder why. I wonder who was in charge for songwriting with those two records. Now let's talk about the next thing where I can say a little bit about, and these are the guitar solos. And the one from the second guitar player, Kevin, I'm going to talk about that and the things that I like about that record in a few minutes. But the Steffen's guitar solos, you can hear that he's missing a certain guide, a certain coach. That was something that Christian did in a valediction. They sat together and Christian was saying, hey, play that note that way, do this kind of line, here that lick kind of works, now the lick that you wrote won't work. He was consulting Steffen's solos. And now this is missing, and you can hear that up to that point where we even got a Kerry King kind of guitar solo in The Sun Eater. A Kerry King type of guitar solo in an Obscura record. Trying to compensate his technique that he just don't have right now because he never practiced it, you know, with some weird effects, with wah-wah, really not good developed vibrato. I mean, now we're talking about niche stuff for guitar players. I mean, but that's really my expert field, and this is the field where I can judge artists in the most objective way. And here there are a lot of things where I would say, take some guitar lessons, learn how to have a really good vibrato, get your hand sync fixed, get my online masterclass, ZEN of Speedpicking, to fix your picking. Steffen, write me, I will give you a discount for free, because it's time to change something if we want to continue in this kind of direction. Or just don't do the guitar solos. Now let's talk a little bit about the good things of the record that I really liked. And this is the guitar playing from Kevin, the second guitar player there. He is not the shredder kind of guy like Christian or like Raphael or even like Tom, which is a little bit missing because this was also a big part of the spirit of Obscura. This virtuose kind of technical shredding, sometimes more in the neoclassical direction with Christian, sometimes more in the jazz fusion direction with Raphael, sometimes something really unique with Tom, for example. But there were always that feeling of, okay, I want to push boundaries. I want to create something musically that sounds good, that brings something to the song, that brings energy to that song, and it's pushing the limitation of the instrument, which I always love. This is one of the big part why Obscura touched me emotionally so much. I mean, but yeah, speaking for myself, maybe from a niche, but I would say 80% of all Obscura fans are out there because of the fucking guitar playing. And I bet you watching this video right now are an Obscura fan because of the guitar playing. If not, write it in the comments, but I think most of you guys, 80%, are here because of the guitar solos. But back to Kevin's playing. What I really like about Kevin's playing is that Marty Friedman touch and that Marty Friedman vibe that he brings now into Obscura. Because I know Christian is inspired by Marty Friedman. I don't know too much about Tom and Raphael if they are inspired by Friedman, but Kevin is bringing like the full vocabulary of Rust in Peace and Cacophony Friedman style here now to Obscura, and I really like that. I really like this tone, I like his phrasing, I like the melodies that he's creating, that he's playing a lot with these outside notes. Really, again, Marty Friedman-esque. You can hear that influence, but it fits to Obscura. Now, having this as one lead guitar player, and let's say Christian as another lead guitar player or Raphael as another lead guitar player, that would be like the perfect combination. One person is doing more the melodic kind of side where he is putting a lot of effort and details into phrasing, and the other person is doing a lot of shredding and a lot of fast and virtuoso kind of technical stuff, and so that they can split their work. And I think that would be an extremely good combination. But now it's one person who can really play melodic, who can have some really great ideas for some solo stuff, and Steffen. Yay! The next things are a little bit nerdy. I like two riffs. One is the main riff of Silver Linings, where he's going to the flat 5. I just like when people are going to the flat 5. This is a sound that I kind of feel into it. And the second thing that I really liked is the main melody of Evenford. It is really strong melody. I really like the chord progression underneath it. And whoopsie, it's not something that Obscura has written. It's kind of really breaks my heart to talk in this kind of cynical tone about one of my all-time favorite bands, Obscura. They influenced me and my playing and my career as well so much so, and it is really sad to see this development. I've heard they have a lot of struggle with the current tour, not really filling the halls and the venues, having a completely new band. I don't know what's going on there. I don't have contact with the old band, and I don't know too much the new guys. I know they are from Fraction Universe, and the bassist is from Beyond Creation, and I saw some live snippets, and what they were playing was, holy shit, they are doing a really great job, but I don't know what's going on there. Maybe it is a time issue, because the guitar player, I think, stated on Facebook that they were asked in November if they could do the tour, and that was before all the acquisitions about stealing riffs, etc. was going on. So maybe it's just a time thing that Kevin, James, and Robin cannot play this tour because of, I don't know, having duties in other bands, you know, having teaching schedules, life stuff, family stuff. I don't know. Maybe some other shit is going on. So, but the question that I have in my mind, and maybe here I'm the wrong person to say this, because I don't play in Obscura. I never played in Obscura. I'm just a fan. Maybe for some guys I'm just a bad room warrior who is never experienced having a career in music or staying on stage, which is absolute bullshit, but hey, some people might think so. But again, sometimes I ask myself, how can we fix this? What should Steffen do to den Karren aus dem Dreck ziehen, how we would say in German? And it's not easy. It has to do with getting rid of ego. It has to do with getting rid of mental kind of issues maybe, but again, nothing where I can judge about. But this is the Obscura that we have right now, and it is quite disappointing. What do you think about the news Obscura? Let me know in the comments. Maybe you can change my mind. I would love to see a lot of people enjoying that record. And I'm happy for everybody who can enjoy this record. Really, I'm happy for you guys. Enjoy it as much as you want and embrace it, because I can't. And that's a bummer, because a new Obscura record was something really, really big for me in the last 10 years. And now it was meh, and I don't want to have that feeling. And I'm happy for everybody who does not have that feeling. So enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed this little video, and I hope I'm going to see you in my next video. Cheers, and power your progress.